Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Tech Pulse on Economic Times. And today I have a very special guest with myself. We are talking trade agreements, we are talking AI, we are talking employment, and yes, of course, this all comes under Nasscom. And we have with ourselves the president of Nasscom, Mr. Rajesh Nambiar. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
We're set on a very pivotal day today because FTAs, UK FTA has been signed, and this brings upon a new era for us as well. It's a historic agreement. How do you look at this, and how do you look at trade agreements, modern trade agreements, especially in today's day and age when we are living in an era which is AI and a lot of more stuff happening in the geopolitical situations?
So the FTAs are generally very important for the country as a whole, even though it is probably a little less important for services industry and then the technology industry such as us. But even though we may not deal with goods, but it's also there are a lot of nuances with some of these FTAs which are very fundamental to the technology industry as well. For instance, in the case of UK FTA, there's a specific clause called GCC, which is the Double Compensation Convention, which has been inserted into the FTA as part of the sort of an addendum to the FTA, which also says that some of our technology services employees, when they go to UK on a short-term basis, now till now they should pay the local social security payments, but that's no longer required. I mean, as long as they pay the same amount in India. So in many ways, I think it's a and we thank Minister Goyal as well for being very vocal in this particular topic. So this is a big win for the industry, because it's not only just 5 years, then we've also gotten a grace period of another 6 months post this 5-year time frame. So I think it's a very nice way to structure this particular deal.
You know, when it comes to technology, the technology in today is big, of course, AI, we're talking about agentic, but at the same time, we also have to look at skilling the workforce in this entire ecosystem. How do you see the Indian youth adapting to it? Is there a curriculum requirement that needs to be changed? What is the difference that the workforce needs to go under currently as we stand today in AI? Because the technology is changing in every 3 months.
Absolutely. You know, skilling or reskilling, as we know it, is a huge topic for the industry. In multiple segments of our workforce, we have this topic, and which we need to be very, very conscious about. In the entry level, for example, when the students in colleges, what we call entry level, because this industry hires a lot from the colleges, there is a very dire need for us to change the curriculum. And the good news is that when even today, when you see the Gen Zs coming out of the colleges, at least 80% of them are much better in terms of AI readiness, AI awareness. They're much better than many of the folks who've been in the workforce for a little longer. So then you have to look at people who are already in the workforce. We have spent 5-6 years doing something which is probably not very valued in the future. So how do they make sure that they're ready for the future in some sense? Many of the large companies do their own skilling. They probably don't need us or the government to help them out. But there are the real requirement in maybe 5 years down the line is probably we don't even know what it is today. Yes. But we got to keep up with it. I mean, that's the only way for us to sort of. So what we say in our industry is that at this point in time, the best skills anybody can possess is the learnability. I mean, the ability for them to pivot quickly, learn adjacency, and move on and understand what is required. Programming versus orchestration. How do you pivot from somebody who's been very tuned to programming to somebody who's actually now going to be orchestrating with the AI agents and so on, right? And so that's going to be the key.
That brings me to my next question, which is, of course, when you say about AI, when you talk about AI in general, building AI models is also a very crucial factor. How do you see India building the AI models in the future?
When we say we want to scale, building LLM is one part of it. Eventually, these LLMs will kind of become commodity. Not that they're not valuable. I mean, commodity is still valuable. I mean, you still have to pay for it. They can generate a lot of money worldwide. I think that's what we are seeing at this point in time. But you got to create products. You got to create ability for enterprises to leverage the technology, leverage AI, and that is going to happen because of the fact that you are actually building very model neutral software which can leverage the broader LLM capability, but still provide solutions in a vertical segment. That's how we look at the LLM layer, and then the rest of the layer that people are building in some sense. So India's capability, I believe, is now more in ensuring that we We leverage technology to solve a business problem, to solve an enterprise problem, to get into enterprises and then work with the existing systems to merge and then do the AI orchestration to leverage their context and ecosystem to build something meaningful to solve a problem. That's probably where the capabilities lie.
So the other side of this coin is of course sovereign AI, and sovereign AI cannot happen just with the LLMs, but also the hardware part of things. We are talking about GPUs. Now, while we do aim to figure out sovereign AI in terms of the LLMs that we're building here, the machines are still learning on GPUs that are being imported. That's not a problem that can be solved tomorrow. That's not a problem that can be solved in the next 5 years also, essentially. But there are steps that are being taken. How do you see this development going forward?
First of all, I think we should be very careful when we talk about sovereign AI or sovereign anything, sovereign technology in general. We should be careful that we are not equating sovereign to Atmanirbhar or made in India, right? Sovereignty comes in when we as a country have the ability to turn things on and off, to make sure that we protect our sensitive data, that we need to no other country has an implication over what we can do. So as long as you have that capability, you build in those capability, even if it is made somewhere else, I think we should be okay with that. So sovereignty in my mind would mean that our ability to control our destiny, that somebody else from another country is not turning off our software or a system. That's what is sovereignty, right? But we do have our own strength in certain areas. Data sets, for example. I think we are a use case capital of the world in some sense. I think we do create more data than anybody else. Application layer, absolutely. I think that's where I think our talent prowessness and what we can build to solve an industry problem comes across very, very loud and clear. There are other layers I think we can participate as well. I think there are areas where we could 100% take the lead and be the leader, where there are areas where we won't be the leader, no matter how much we go after that. Yeah?
Absolutely. So for our viewers, just to give you context, the game of AI is not a game of 2D chess. It's actually a game of 3D chess with multiple layers in it and also multiple players along with it. There are pawns, there are kings and there are queens. But at the end of the day, we have set up the table in India and we will be building it here as well in the future. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you.